Hello everyone, Mike Barnes here with Asheville Guitar, and I'm going to dedicate this video to Pat Martino, the great jazz guitarist. That's Pat right there, and that's an album called Joyous Lake. That was a huge influence on a lot of us. Pat died just this last week. Died November 1st, 2021, and he was at age of 77. And Pat's one of the reasons I enrolled at Musicians Institute, because I knew that he was there, and Robin Ford taught there, and I got to take under him for the first couple of quarters there. He was teaching there, and then he developed a brain aneurysm, and so he left the school and went under surgery and forgot how to play guitar completely and had to relearn the instrument. But he's a huge influence on many of us, and I just wanted to kind of dedicate this video to him. He's done several albums. This is an important one, Joyous Lake. That was the last album he did before his brain aneurysm. There's Starbright. That has a great chord solo piece called Prelude, which I performed to get into the University of Miami when I was a freshman. Then there's this album. This is a huge album for me, because this was the first time that I heard Pat Martino on his version of Sunny on this record when I was a teenager. Here's another one, Footprints. Of course, the great Wayne Shorter tune. There's also How Insensitive is on here. Road Song, his version of Road Song. And then there's Desperado, which this is an unusual album where he's playing all 12-string, electric 12-string guitar, and he does an incredible version of Oleo on here, and it's definitely worth a listen. And an early record by him is Strings. He does a version of Minority on here, and this was his second album. There's also Consciousness. I had Consciousness on an album, and I've since lost it. When I was a teenager, I think I've got the CD somewhere, but and he had, as his first record, El Hombre, that was done in 1967, and after Joyous Lake in 1977, that's when he suffered the brain aneurysm that took him out for a few years. But he came back with the Return in 1987, and that was his first record since his brain aneurysm and his recovery. And he had to relearn the guitar completely from scratch. Didn't remember anything after his surgery. So he came back with that album, The Return, and of course many records after that. And Pat was a huge influence on me, and I'm sure many of you. And he had some concepts on the guitar that were kind of organizational concepts, because a guitar is not laid out as simply as a keyboard. You know, with a piano keyboard, you have all the black keys, which are sharps or flats, and all the white keys, which are all natural notes. Well, guitar is a little more complex than that, as far as figuring out where your notes are and how chords work. So what he would do is he would take an augmented triad, and he would call these automatic fingerings. Right, so when you take an augmented triad, which is the root, the third, and a sharp 5, and if you lower, of course, this kind of back up here, when you play an augmented chord, if you move it up in major thirds, 2 whole steps, you have the same chord, just an inversion of that chord. You move up another 2 whole steps, same chord, right? So there's an augmented triad right there. And if you move 1 note down, you have a major triad, right? So any 1 note of that triad, if you move it down, you have a major. If you move any note up, you've got the minor version. And that's the root of that minor chord. So when we go back to the augmented triad form, if we move this first string up, that becomes an A minor, right? If we move that second string up, that becomes an F minor. If we move the third string up, that becomes a C sharp minor or a D flat, depending on how you want to look at it. And then if you take this down, you've got the major. So you've got the fifth of that major chord, which in this case is a G. So we have a C major chord here. If we move that second string down, that's the fifth of a G sharp or a flat triad, right? Now if we move it up again, we've got and we take the third string down, you've got the fifth of an E triad. So that's the augmented chord, that's an automatic. And then you have a diminished chord that he kind of associates with being an automatic fingering because it moves in minor thirds. So you've got the same shape. So if you move any one of these notes down, you've got the root of a dominant seventh chord. So if we take that little finger on the first string, move it down one, that gives us a G sharp or an A flat dominant seventh chord. If we move that second string down, you have a D7, right? Because that's a D note. If you go back to that, move that third string down, you've got a B, right? And if you go back to that diminished shape, move the fourth string down, you've got an F, dominant seventh. Now if you do the opposite, where you move each note up a half step, you have the flat 7 of a minor 7 flat 5, or a half diminished chord, right? So that would actually be a C, right? And your root note is right there on the third string. Now if we move that second string up, that's the flat 7 of an F sharp minor 7 flat 5. Now if we move that third string up, that's the flat 7 of an E flat. So that's an E flat minor 7 flat 5. If we move the fourth string up, that's the flat 7 of an A minor 7 flat 5. You're probably familiar with that voicing, right? Or maybe that, right? But you can all those different inversions can be derived from that diminished 7 shape. And any diminished 7 shape works for this. That's a Pat Martino concept that he's introduced to the world, at least to me. And then you also have he published several books that are really great to check out. Linear Expressions is one. He did a video and a book, Creative Force 1 and 2. Quantum Guitar was another one, and The Nature of the Guitar is a really great one to check out. That's kind of a DVD computer version, CD-ROM. And then there's a great documentary, Pat Martino Unstrung, that kind of talks about his surgery and what he had to undergo and how he dealt with it and thrived after that, and had to relearn the guitar from scratch, which is crazy after his first, his career before that, So I thought I would share that with you. And if you get a chance, if you're not familiar with Pat Martino, check out his recordings, especially his early recordings. Some of his later recordings are great too. But the ones that I would recommend first would be Consciousness, Live, and Joyous Lake. All right, thanks for watching. Mike Barnes, Asheville Guitar. We'll see you next time. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Oh, and please subscribe to my channel if you get a chance. Thanks. Bye.